Welcome back to Wild Space, everybody. This is part 2 of our Trilogy fantasy draft. We have set the deck lists and we're ready to show you some gameplay. If you didn't see part 1 where we did the draft, go back and check that out. It's a lot of fun. And here are the lineups that we have. I've settled on Han, Kaz, and Ray. Steve has Yoda, Kira, and Cad. Darren has Sabine, Vader, and Kylo. And Randy has Palp, Django, and Talzin. If you need to be reminded of what cards we picked, then we can take a look quickly at which cards are exclusive. So in the draft, we selected cards, and these cards were locked out of the pools for the other players. So on top of the Trilogy wrinkle, we had this other wrinkle, which made deck building a lot of fun. Steve's pool here. He's got some strong removal and some good aggressive units for cunning. Darren is loaded up in green-red and got some good blue cards as well. And then I've got a little green hero strong, and then kind of an assortment otherwise there. So take a moment, think about which decks you think are going to win overall, which deck you think might get banned the most, or rack up the most wins individually, and then what set of decks is going to win overall. And we will get you into round 1. All right, we got our first matchup here. We have myself with the Ray, Han, Kazuda, and Darren with Kylo, Sabine, and Vader. We are just going through our bans right now. And I am thinking that I'm not used to playing Kaz without Falcon, but I feel like Vader decks are a pretty good matchup, so I'm not really worried about that. And then similarly, Kylo is a pretty good matchup for Kaz, so I'm kind of counting on Kaz to win me a lot of games here, and I think I just end up banning Sabine because I know that he's got a lot of the good Sabine cards, so it's going to be as pretty close to a tournament Sabine deck. And there we go. He ends up banning Han. I end up banning Sabine. We'll skip ahead here a little bit to get into the game. All right, and we end up going Kaz into Vader here. Looking at my opening hand, I've got a couple turn 1 plays, a Beguile. Then I think I keep the Boshek for card draw. Can't quite see what Darren's got there. Looks like I actually kept the Han to just give me a little bit more power and health for contesting space. It's got the Kajimi. Brings him in an extra tie. I'll keep initiative. I maybe should have mulliganed for the 2-cost 3/3 ambush. Kaz's ship, whose name I can't remember right now. But as it is, he's going to get going and make a tie here. And I'm just going to try and clean up the board and keep his tie production offline if I can. Colossus has a lot of health, so I don't want to get too carried away with trying to race. I'm just trying to clean up a lot of his units here. But 4 damage I don't want to pass up on. So we put that in there. He's going to play Vulture Droid. I'll take the initiative. And we will move on. I'll use the ship with Han to clear out his token generator. There you get a glimpse of the malevolence sitting in his hand, which is one of the big plays that Blue Vader can make. Looks like he's debating between a clone combat. Oh, yet another up the whatever it is, the limit 15 ships. I actually go to base there instead of clearing one of those ties. I know that I have a Beguile, and I'm going to bounce the Clone Combat Squadron, but I make a big mistake by not beguiling first to look at his hand. And I do it at the end of the turn after I've already attacked. And now he's going to show me his hand. And I'm going to see the malevolence, and I'm going to do the math and go, oh no, why didn't I clean up one of those tie tokens with my 1/2? I didn't want to waste 9 or another 5 damage to base with Kaz. I thought, the 1/1s won't hurt me that much. I was not thinking about malevolence at the time. So now he's just going to slam it down, and because we are doing the Trilogy draft format, somebody else has drafted Waylay, so I do not have Waylay in my deck. I was making do with Beguile. I maybe should have been playing Spare the Target instead, but I had the Spare the Targets in my Han Yellow deck for Faith in Your Friends. And I tried to just draw a card there and thought maybe I can take this thing down. I didn't want to run my whole board into it. But I was like, maybe I can put some damage on it and draw something here to chip it down and trade it off. And he had locked out Kazuda this turn when he played Malevolence, so Kazuda can't attack. So yeah, I can't trade my board into it. I would need to draw the Fireball. That's the name of Kaz's ship, in order to clear it up. And so Han can do 4 damage, but it's still going to have another 2 life. I've got a hauler to play. He claims, I go to base, and he's going to right away flip Vader into that Malevolence, and I'm going to be in big trouble because I don't have Bamboozle, which was a card that Darren hate drafted because he didn't want his Vader getting bamboozled, which was smart. So yeah, the deck, the draft element of the Trilogy gameplay already coming in as some of those kind of staple cards that you'd at least expect to have in some decks. You don't have in any decks. And now I do the math and say he's going to hit me for 12, restore 2, hit me for 12, restore 2, and I'm going to be dead. When he deploys Vader, he also plots out Palpatine and the trade route taxation, so that even if I had some sort of event like a bamboozle or something to get rid of Vader, I can't play it right now because he's got more units than me. It's not a card, it's a new card in Secrets of Power, so I was checking it out just to see what it did. I knew it was something about preventing your opponent from playing events. He needed more units than me, which is why he had to plot Palpatine first. And I'm going to do the math right here. And I didn't keep up with base damage. Sorry. Just a terrible caster here. There we go. Even though it is 14-4, I know the writing's on the wall here with 12 and 12, restoring 4, 10, so I need to do 25 in less than 2 actions, essentially. So yeah, let's just go to game 2. Well, this one is done. I guess I could have played one more turn, but when you beat, you beat. I know that I don't have anything in my deck to deal with that ship, so we will go to the next match. All right, we got game 2. Rey and Kylo with Data Vault. The showdown of the sequel. 2 couple grindy decks here, but again, format will put a little wrinkle into it since we don't have access to all the cards that we would like. Darren there reminding me, hey, yo, R2 does something, since I don't think I've ever played Rey Data Vault. That might have been the first time I actually played an R2-D2 in a game of Star Wars. And he goes with Pershing to start things off. So yeah, two blue-green decks, trying to grind it out. He gets a nice start there into his ramp. Super laser tech. I can't do anything about that, so I'm going to buff up the R2. And then decide whether I want to put some damage on the Pershing or just go to base. Looks like we're trying to get that Pershing off the board, not let him build up a massive card advantage, if possible. So now he's on 5, he's got a few options there. I'm going to resource my Space Sentinel. Don't feel like that's going to come into play this game. He's going to go for the Childson. So I can buff up Yaddle and trade both of those into that Childson if I want. I guess R2 would survive. But first, I'm going to deny his card draw, just naming Galen. Or sorry, naming Pershing with my Galen, who is Probably going to see a little bit more play. Oops, not that one. Probably going to see a little bit more play post-rotation, so... R2's going to put some damage on Pershing, so Yaddle can finish it off. See some of the cards in Darren's hand there. He's got a Maudie, the 2-cost 1/1 that can ready a unit when it dies. So if he gets a big Kylo out, he can gets that thing in play. He can do some damage with it. Could do a couple monster swings. On 6 here, he's going for Pershing the second, but less blue cards in his hand now. Just the takedown and the condemn. I'm guessing the Del Miko from last turn got resourced. So I could trade both these units into that, and then Pershing comes back online. But I've got a Vanquish, so figure keep my units alive, take that out, push some damage to base. He's going to use Kylo to cycle the condemn. Rex on top is pretty juicy for next turn. That's going to stay there. So finally getting our first base damage on turn 3, 4. Turn 4. Lots of fighting for board control earlier. So now we get to an exciting turn here. We've got the potential of both Rey and Kylo flipping this turn, since Darren did get his super laser tech into his row. He's up a resource. I think in his discard pile there is a constructed lightsaber and a condemn. Certainly lots of options. While Rey and Kylo were never at the Date Vault together, the art on both their leaders are the snowy woods on Starkiller Base. So that's kind of neat. And then here we go. We got the constructed lightsaber. So Kylo, normally a 5/5, is going to be hitting for 9. Since he's a villain unit, he also gets raid 2. Have 8 health. It's pretty difficult to deal with. I do not want that to hit my base. So I think there is a Rex coming down in front of this. I'll give himself Sentinel, and I'll give the Pershing Sentinel, just in case I want to run into that with one of my units instead of running into Kylo. Because pretty much anything that runs into Kylo, I'm gonna die. 7/8 with raid 2. He's a big boy. Thankfully, Rex is a little overstated himself. So the takedown comes in on Galen. He's going to flip. Pershing's going to draw. And I think about making this attack here. But I realize that Rex's Sentinel wears off at the end of the turn. And so if I do that, there's a high chance that Kylo's going to claim and then just butcher my Rey as his first action next turn. So I'm going to take the claim instead, get my swing off and get Sentineled up. And since he realizes my plan, he figures, let's save 7 damage from base. But now with initiative, I can clean up Kylo with R2, which is nice. So I'm feeling pretty good. I'm going to come out a leader ahead after this exchange. Pretty even on cards. He's ahead a little bit because of Pershing. And then the Maul comes down. And this was our second. So with anytime you do in a weird format like this, where not only we have deck building constraints of Trilogy, we also had the draft portion where certain cards were locked to certain people. And Maul was one of those cards. I think Steve looked over and was like, "You can't play that. I drafted Maul." And at some point in this game, I don't know if it's right now or later, but Darren was like, "What? Are you for real?" But I had also made a mistake and drafted Kazuda as my red leader in the draft. So couple things here, but we said carry on, play on. We'll keep going. Keller's going to come down, get some village protectors. Initiative over to Darren. See if my shielded sentinels can slow down his Maul a little bit. Darren leads off this turn with a Cantwell Arrestor Cruiser, so that's one of the new cards from Secrets. Guess not super new now, but fairly new. And yeah, I think it's going to become a staple in control decks going forward, if control decks exist. The meta looks pretty fast right now with aggressive negotiations decks everywhere and pilot aggro everywhere. We'll see how it shapes up, but yeah, this will be a quite a strong card. Exhaust something and prevents it from readying it, so it can absorb. It's not quite as good as removal, but with less hard removal around. It's gonna. Oh, I think this is where they were having a discussion about Maul. Darren's checking his phone to see. I thought he was open, so I'm getting rid of his Pershing there with my village protectors. But yeah, Cantwell with less really strong removal since rotation. I would expect that a card like Cantwell will see more play in those late game decks. And then he's going to capture my Sentinel, giving his Maul a path to my base. I don't want to take that 7 damage, so I think I'm going to suicide a blue leader in here to deal with that. Claim for him. We'll follow up with just a little Akbar. And then I forgot that Kelleran stays exhausted. I knew he couldn't attack. I wasn't sure if it was like a what's the other effect from that other big ship? I can't remember its name right now. It says they can't attack. I thought it was can't attack while the rest of cruisers in play, but it is cannot ready. Six coming down for a Palp's return. Maul's going to come in and run over the Akbar for 3 damage onto my base. I've got drawn a second Vanquish for the Arrestor Cruiser, though. Get my Sentinel back. Fortunately, since it was captured, and it's not going to get a shield token back on it when it gets rescued. And he's got an upgrade. I believe that's the one to +1/+1 and restore 2. Another Village Protectors, and 1 resource left over for an experience with Ray. So we're doing Ray things. We're clogging up the ground. We got blockers. We're going to try and start putting some damage in now that Kelleran's up and ready to go. Ball swinging in again. Another 6 damage to the base. Gonna use Luke to finish him off. And hopefully be able to push a bunch of damage here with my other units. And Cyclone trying to draw into something. So now that I've got the ground, he's in a little bit of a tight spot. That is a retaliation, killing Kelleran, since he has dealt damage to my base this turn, or to his base this turn. Village Protectors get in there for 3 more. Darren, unfortunately, doesn't have a way to use the rest of his resources. I've got a Mina to come down and keep some stuff going on the ground. The third copy of Childson with only a single blue card. Just to try and slow me down a little bit. Alright, and the wall comes down after now that the shield is gone from the village protectors. Getting in some overwhelm damage. Luckily for me, Mina with a little bump from Ray can clean up that maul, leaving Luke to party to the data vault. Get some damage in. Gonna disclose Unity of Purpose and Obi-Wan. Unity is like a one-of card in there just to have a way to close some of these long, grindy games if the opportunity presents itself, although this deck doesn't go quite as wide as some of the others. Obi-Wan will come down. Didn't have anything else to play there, so can't develop it further, even though I know he doesn't have Super Laser Blast, so going as wide as possible is a good idea. And now he plays Architons, which I think, oh man, he has nothing if he's playing that. And I think, oh, I can end this game right now if I play this Unity of Purpose. Pump both my guys by 2. It's 4 more damage. That's lethal. Let's do it. Really, swinging with Luke here is just the better option. There's no, my base isn't under threat. You know, I don't need to make a riskier play. And I get punished for it. He's got the craving power. Come in and take out the Luke. So I will settle for the 4 damage from Obi-Wan and the missed opportunity. Now that I'm looking at these Ray sleeves, the art is so good. I am going to be sad that I didn't get a chance to play more Ray with those sleeves now that she's rotating out. I'm your father, coming down to Obi-Wan. He is going to accept his fate and head to the discard. He does not want to give Darren some more cards. I've got Luke the second to shrink the Architons a little bit, limit the damage on my base just to 3. And he has a lot of resources up still, so I don't claim here. Instead, I'm gonna put at least one more piece of material onto the board. Give me some options. And he is gonna claim not having much to follow up on that turn. Yeah, looks like he had a super laser tech and something else in hand. Another I am your father comes down. Luke hears the bad news. Unlike Obi-Wan, he is going to do what he did in the movies and say, no! And let Darren draw the cards. That's impossible. And I didn't learn my lesson last time to swing with Luke when I got the chance, but I got greedy again. I'm going to swing with the blue leader, even though Darren just drew 3 more cards. Sometimes, though, you don't get punished. And Darren's sitting on retaliation and a bunch of units. He does not have timely, because I drafted that somewhere in my deck. Make a swing with his Architens, and then Luke is going to come in and end the game here. And that will take us to game 3. All right, we got game 3 here of Kaz versus Kylo, or game 3 of Aaron versus Darren. Kaz versus Kylo. The 3/3 droid starts on the ground. And we got 2 little spaceships up in the air for Kazuda. And now we got 1 spaceship. Bang. Eager Escort Fighter comes in, collects the bounty, draws a card. Maybe gets for 2. And the hauler comes down. I'm probably looking to try and stick a Kazuda into that hauler. But I do not have initiative. Darren drops a takedown on it. I gotta give it to him, and then, oh yeah, you gotta take an action to do that, buddy. Hold up, hold up. So now, I'm gonna be contested in space. I'm not too happy about that. But we'll have Kaz jump into this A-Wing anyway. Then he'll play my hauler. Now I'm trying to set up a way to get it back without damaging Kaz. I've got an open fire in hand, and then I'm like, well, if I could get initiative, but I know that's not going to happen, so I just sacrifice the 5 damage to base, put 4 damage on Kaz, and get my hauler back. It bounces for a full circuit, number 1. But through all these shenanigans, Kylo is ahead on base damage. With the little 3/3 that could. I guess not little. 3/3. Impressive stat line for the 2-cost card. He's got a craving power. That's another dead hauler. So I'm going to get 5 damage in with Kaz. He's going to get 5 damage in with the Dark Trooper. And now I'm sitting on that open fire waiting for him to play the hauler. But I got to take another action first, so I'm going to play Boshek to draw 2 cards, because if I pass, he's going to know something's up. So I have to, unfortunately, sacrifice Boshek. He does his job and draws 2. Then the open fire, and the hauler will make its 2nd cycle around the table. It's like the Benny Hill hauler, just getting stolen back and forth and back and forth. People running in circles. So up to the 6 resource turn, Kylo's done a very good job of limiting the base damage while also getting some beats in. This time, Kaz is going to say, aha, I'm going to take away the downside of my hauler. So you can't steal it, but he can exhaust it and shrink it. I will play another one, though. He's got an escort fighter, and the hauler will once again end up in the graveyard. And once again, join his side of the table. Kylo cycles a card, and we're moving on to the Kylo flip turn. Suddenly, all these hauler shenanigans, while I have been able to keep getting it back continuously, I have not been stacking up damage on his base, so I'm down damage, and he has Data Bolt. So I know he can flip this turn. He's only showing Condemn and a Perilous Position, neither of which can go into Kylo. So as long as this hauler doesn't hit me, I can't die this turn. And I'm hoping to maybe set up to give myself an option to close out next turn if I can develop enough. But I know I can't let this hauler hit me, so I have to cash Kaz into it here. Blanking my other 2 spaceships. He's got an Eager Escort Fighter to keep limiting my damage. Got Heroic Sacrifice to get in for 6. It does not kill my ship because Kaz prevented it from gaining abilities. He hits back for 5. I will get my hauler back. It has now made its 3rd trip around the galaxy. He discards a Darksaber, and I wasn't really looking at it there. I was just excited to capture this thing finally that's put 20-something odd damage on my base. 21 damage on my base. And I'm like, okay, if I can take this 5 from Kylo and get initiative, maybe I can win this game. Unfortunately, now I'm like, wait a minute, what? Where did this come from? Didn't notice that he had discarded it next time. 5 plus 4 is 9. 9 plus 21 is 30. And that is the game for Darren. He takes it down. And he's going to end up winning the match. And as all bad players do, I'm like, oh, but look, if only I could have outmaneuvered the next turn, then maybe I could have won. But I couldn't. I lost. All right. Let's see what's up next. All right, our game 1 of our other match here. We've got Randy versus Steve. Steve's got Kira, Cad, Yoda. Randy's on Palp, Talzin, Django. Steve bans Palp, and Randy bans Kira. They both ban the decks with the biggest top end, and they're going to try and grind it out in the... I guess Yoda's got some pretty decent top end, but grind it out with the more mid-rangey decks. It's interesting. Steve chose not to ban Django, the banned card, but I think he felt like none of his decks could get over the top of Palp, so he was going to take his chances with the Django. All right, we are getting into it here, and there's a little bit of glare, unfortunately, on that base, but it is a 30 hit point red base. Yoda is playing the red force base. You can see a little bit of their hand there. Randy's gonna resource the ferocity and a stormtrooper, I believe. And Steve is looking at, can't quite make out what he put down there, but it looks like he's got a Yaddle for turn 1 to open up with. And Price is the turn 1 play for Django. Not quite as strong on the draw rather than the play. I guess that's a term that doesn't really apply in Star Wars since everybody gets to draw. Price not quite as strong with the initiative, is what we should say. Get the tokens set out there. We'll see if Steve has a way to deal with this Price, or if he's just going to make some attacks to the base. Looks like you can already see he is sitting on a force throw there, which is always good to have. So we've got a battle of the band cards here. Django versus force throw. So he's going to go into the Price, just try and get it off the table, play some control, and that gives him the force. And he's going to just start right away with a force throw. Get that Price off the table, get a card out of Randy's hand. And it looks like a surprise strike there. That is the shielded 3-cost 3/2 spaceship. Yoda's going to cycle. Looks like you're my only hope. And you'll get initiative. Owen Lars is going to come down. And now Steve has got some restore. Set up and ready to go. Randy's got initiative though, so you can bet Django is going to find a way to exhaust something over there on Steve's side. He's going to open up with the 3 to base. And then there'll be Owen restoring 2. Oh no. That was exhausted from the previous turn. Oh, it's going to be Owen restoring 2 anyway. The Kimbaluga Heavy Fighter comes in, does 3 indirect. Anything that gets hit by its indirect damage gets exhausted. So Steve's just going to soak up that indirect with Owen. Go digging for a force unit. Showing a ray, which I believe, is that a draw trigger? Or is that put in your hand? Yeah, it's a draw trigger. So he's going to pop the shield and do 2 to the base. And then let's see what he's going to play for turn. He's going to Yoda, put that ray on top. Does he have another way to draw a card? He does. He has Ki-Adi-Mundi. He's going to show the ray again. And now they're getting the base damage correct there. And he's going to swing with Yaddle and restore 1. That's looking pretty good for Yoda so far. Django's coming out this turn though, and Yoda is a ways off yet. So there is Rey there with Palpatine's power. The fighter gets in for 3 damage. Yaddle heals 1 with his attack. We're flipping into a sudden frosty on Django. I guess he didn't have a way to ping the Ki-Adi-Mundi down before he did this play. Ki-Adi-Mundi's just going to get some damage into Django, healing again for 1. And then Django's going to put 6 back on the base. Steve's got the Rey in his hand, but let's see what else he might be able to play here. Using his Yoda ability. That is a 2-cost ship that I can't quite see because of the glare. I wonder if it is the one that does indirect damage when it dies. He's got a You're My Only Hope for a Hammerhead. Pay the extra 1. I think he's got about 4 cards in hand. Yes, it is the one that I'm thinking of, but I can't remember its name right now. Just going to take out the heavy fighter, leaving him with the 2 cost and space. Oh, and then he's got another force throw. This time, he's not going to leave it up to fate. Looks like he's pulling a card from his own hand. I would assume to finish off Django. Yeah, there's the Rey. So Yoda, in good control here. 2 force throws in a You're My Only Hope will definitely help you do that. And he's had a decent chunk of healing. Oh, and Yaddle's gotten it a couple times. Ki-Adi. He's got the tank to come down. Exhaust. The Hammerhead. Starhopper, that's what I'm thinking. That is the card that is covered in glare a little bit there. But I think if you're Yoda, you're 1 away from flipping. You're probably pretty happy to just get some damage to base with Yaddle, heal 1, develop the board a little bit here, and then next turn set up to flip and take out that tank. Tank will get 1 swing off. Might have missed a couple damage in there, I think. He's at 8. I think that's a 5 and a 3. Oh, he's got the Mace Windu. Come in and take out the space threat, soak up some of that indirect. Doesn't want to give him an option to tap down the Corvette with that Starhopper next turn with Django. And I guess he's trading in the Yaddle to get rid of some of that extra attack bonus that the tank would have. And now also Windu's going to be able to clean it up if he needs to. Haven't seen a TDR yet out of Django. See if he's drawn into one of those. Oh, there we go. Speak of the devil. So for those of you that were not around before this card got banned, it's looking through the top 7. It's going to play a ship. -5 comes in ready. Bounces back to your hand after the turn. He gets a Devastator, which is a big hit. He can exhaust either of those units. And I believe the Hammerhead hits for 6 or hits for 5 only, so the Devastator is probably safe. Yeah. Devastator is safe, so he's going to tap down the Mace Windu, put the rest into base. I missed the one healing from Yaddle, I think. So 10-8 right now. The Devastator can do another chunk of 9, plus the War Juggernaut right now is hitting for 6, I believe. So a pretty big threat here for the Django player. He's got Mace Windu Party Crasher, which is going to ambush, take 6, and ready. So the Devastator is going to get in for 9. Putting Steve 9 damage away from death. But Yoda can deploy this turn, so depending what he can stack on top here, he might... What did he draft? Bo-Katan? Yes, a Bo-Katan to clear the Devastator. And he's going to restore, and he's going to deal another 14. Giving Django just 8 health left. Nothing on board. And would need another TDR into... I don't even know what you could... Yeah, you can only exhaust one of those units. So... yeah, looks like they're going to scoop it up. He had another Devastator, but couldn't get there. So, Yoda, Force Throw, overcoming the Django TDR. Now, because of the format again, Randy did not have Tarkentown, so maybe that plays a role in the matchup. He also did not have Ruthless Raiders. So, but just, yeah, interesting wrinkles to how the games can go without some of those cards. All right, game 2 of this matchup here. We've had the Django taken down once by the Yoda Force. Let's see how Cad will fare against him. It's going to open in space with the bomber. The Cad is going to go double 1-drops. I wonder if he's going to burn Target Town on that spaceship, or if he feels like it's better to save it for a better target later. He is going to use it. Okay. 2 Guavians. You can see Django holding a TDR. He's just going to rip it off. Must not have anything else to play right now. Because normally you would want to wait 1 turn, I think, to get some 6 drops. Although in this format we know that Steve has actually drafted the Ruthless Raiders. So that's 1 less 6 drop to pull from it. Gets the IG 2000, taps down a Guavian. And he's just gonna beguile it straight back to hand. Even though it's going back to hand already, I guess he knows that he's on a Tarkentown base, so he doesn't want to take that damage this early in the game. Or maybe he just didn't have another turn 2 play in hand. I can see a Greedo there, but if that was his only resource that he could spend, might not have been worth it. There's no sense in pinging the IG. It's going back to his hand anyway. So now we'll see. Come right back down. Exhaust another Guavian. And get a couple more damage into the base there. Forlom is going to get a ping off. We'll go to the next turn. So the nice thing for Cat here is that he's got a really strong ground arena into the Django. So he'll be able to clean him up really quickly, like a couple attacks. Django pondering his play. Guessing. Yeah, I'll get in for the 3 damage. Cat hits back for 2. What could he have on 5? He could flip Django into what does multi-pings. I mean, another IG 2000 is not great because then you lose the one in space, but okay. He's going to do some indirect, and I think it's just all going to go to the base. Wants to keep his units healthy. Starts to swing with the Forlom and takes it back. I wonder if he's waiting with that Forlom to run into Django, get a bunch of damage on him, and then he can maybe look to McClunky, one of the Guavians. Yeah, it's too bad Django had an awkward turn, didn't really have a way to use his front side. Or his leader side, sorry. Oh, it's the Zuckus. What a blowout. Oh, man, that is rough. That is rough for Django. And now Forlom's going to hit for 5 too, which is a ton of damage. That's right, I remember that. I think I'm leaning over here and pointing like Randy was lamenting, and I was thinking like, yeah, I saw you untap that Forlom, and I assumed that you didn't have Zekis and you were saving the Forlom to run into Django. And he's like, yeah, that's what I wanted him to think. So well played by Steve there. It's a pretty desperate play by Django, just daring raiding for 2 damage. Forlom getting in for another 5 with the +1. Then they're remembering the CAD ping there, which wasn't remembered at the time, but these are friendly games. So yeah, really rough spot now for Django. You're way behind on board. Your leader's dead. He's got another IG. He's gonna ping, kill. Okay, so that's why he did the dang raids. Now he's gonna kill 3 units with that IG 2000. Oh no, he doesn't even kill it because of the Forlom buff. Oh, that's gonna be pretty much curtains, I think. It's gonna be Zine just to see what kind of tricks he could have, but yeah, the Bubble Pilot ping something off. That's probably the last damage into Zuckus there. Technically, I guess Randy should have I think he killed the wrong IG 2000. Should have a readied one with 1 damage on it. But maybe he was worried about McClunky or something. Get 3 damage in there from Django, but with the cat flip coming this turn, there's another 9 damage. This is pretty much over. There's a Garindin to pull another card from his hand just to make matters worse. Guessing I'll pull the Devastator. Not that it really matters at this point. It's too far away. And he's got 3 things that can kill him this turn, so don't think there's anything in Django's deck that can bring this back. And there it is. All right. So Steve takes that match down, and we will move on to the next round.